Hello and welcome. The Finance Minister has read out her budget speech, and like always, there's a lot of interest in personal taxation. People want to know how much does this impact the amount of money that they have to pay in taxes. So, to discuss that aspect, we have with us a panel of experts. I have with me Divya Baveja, who is from Deloitte. I will first of all ask him to give us an overview, a bigger picture of what is the bigger theme in this budget speech for personal tax.
Yeah. So thanks. And the expectation that people had was on the tax rates and cuts, which I think, looking at the benefits that were given last time, it was difficult. But yes, if you look at the overall theme of the budget that the Honorable Finance Minister laid out, it is more revolving around the ease of compliance, ease of filings, and also to see how one can make the processes simpler for a common taxpayer. So I think these are the steps in the right direction which were needed also. For example, whether it is in the context of extension of timelines, whether it is in the context of new act which will be there, which will promote simplification. So I think that is the overall theme which the Honorable Finance Minister has been looking at in the current budget. Yeah.
Right. There's also the talk about new act, new tax act that will get implemented from 1st of April. We heard about it in the last year, but the implementation comes now. So people would really want to know what exactly does this act have in it. Divya, before I move on to Richa, could you explain that to us as well?
Yeah. So when we look at the new act, what the finance minister has mentioned is that the rules will be notified, the forms will be notified, which will be simpler. I think that is the direction which they are looking at, including also the replacement from assessment year to tax year, because that often used to cause confusion. So we will have to wait for the notified forms and the rules on the simplification part.
Okay, Richa Sahni is again an expert from GT. She joins us here. Thank you, Richa. Again, the same thing. I would want you to tell us what is the bigger picture in this. What do you, from your understanding, what do we have for the taxpayers here?
So I think as anticipated, there are no tax rate related changes because that had happened last year and we'd seen how they have impacted the personal tax collections. So the measures are more revenue neutral measures, but they can go a long way in giving simplification to taxpayers, ease of compliance, and of course, that peace of mind when the dispute resolution processes, they get a little more streamlined and more benevolent, I would say.
Taking that forward again, so does this mean that there is not much in terms of the changes of tax brackets, in terms of the amount of money that will come out of our salaries every month?
That doesn't seem to be the case, but I think more, I would say, on the dispute resolution side, where things used to take away the sleep of taxpayers. One critical thing was that, those early closures. There are many cases where people want to close their litigation process, but the classification of whether this is underreporting or misreporting used to come in the way. So there is an inbuilt mechanism under the Act which allows underreporting cases to go in and make an early closure. And there are then, benefits provided in terms of no penalty payment or no prosecution. So the impediment was that tax officers used to say that this is not underreporting but misreporting, which is a graver offense, and therefore you cannot avail this avenue. The result was clogging of cases and, those periodic amnesty schemes that the government has to come out again, after maybe every 5 years is this time what we saw. So getting misreporting into that area where you can actually go in for an early closure can actually help unclog the system and can benefit a large number of taxpayers who just maybe because of a smaller amount of taxes involved or because of the fact that they want to focus more on their business, they can go in for this early closure. So I think that is a big relief.
Okay. Akhil Chandana from GT is with us. Akhil, your views on the larger theme in this announcement?
I think that as my co-panelists Divya and Richa just mentioned, so though the expectations were to give increase the standard deductions and allow some essential deductions from new tax regime to make it more popular. But I think the government has not focused on any tax cuts, which was coming from the economic survey that this time it's going to be more stable and long term consistency is the theme. That's where they've come with a lot of compliance ease and some targeted taxpayers like young taxpayers. There's not for the students, middle class taxpayers, and even globally mobile employees to give them a stable tax free less litigation and ease of compliances is the overall theme which the government has focused. That's where a lot of procedural changes have come into foreplay, and which will make our Indian tax system more lucrative and as you know, there's a lot of free trade agreements are getting executed. This is actually a need of an hour to be less litigative and more compliance.
Okay. Divya, we are talking about simplification here. I heard that term a lot of times. For a common man, what does that mean? Well, there was also talk of automated, simplified process of filing. What does that mean for a common man who wants to understand how does it help his life?
Yeah. So when we look at automated processes, earlier, for example, if someone was to buy a property and pay to a non-resident, you needed a TAN. Now the requirement of TAN has gone away, which is, I think, a major boon. Also, when we look at, when you applied for a lower withholding certificate, you had to go to the assessing officer. Now that can be filed automatically. So those are the things which are there. I think one of the biggest change that we see is in context of non-disclosure of foreign assets. Now that is something which has been a pain point earlier because people who were, who had say stock options or RSUs or who had some dormant accounts lying overseas and they were inadvertently not disclosed, there was prosecution. So the government, the finance minister has talked about one-time amnesty, a time-bound amnesty actually, from prosecution in two categories where there is a non-disclosure at all or where you have paid taxes on the overseas income but not disclosed the assets. I think these are the steps in the right direction which will make it easier and which also, helps a common person from rigors of prosecution, what Richa mentioned or what Akhil talked about, the step that is in the right direction.
Okay. Richa, you earlier mentioned that this leads towards the ease of compliances. What kind of compliances are we talking about?
See, I would again talk about the dispute resolution side. So the fact that they've merged the penalty and the assessment proceeding, the taxpayer will have to deal with one order. So that makes the entire assessment process less cumbersome. Then, there was, when you go in for appeal, 20% of the tax amount has to be given as a pre-deposit. This has been reduced to 10%. The net impact is, the benefit that you have on your cash flows. Then overall, taking cue from what Niti Aayog has indicated of decriminalization of various provisions, while I have yet to read the entire blueprint of the budget, but it seems that they've moved in that direction. Okay. There is talk about no minimum imprisonment situation or fines instead of imprisonment. Decriminalization of certain cases where TDS is not deposited or deducted in time, essentially relating to where the item relates to kind and not a cash per se item. So I think all those typically would make litigation less cumbersome, and I think that is what I see as a big change that has come about here.
Okay. Akhil, we were discussing NRIs just before this conversation as well. What does it change for a citizen of India who's living outside the country?
So I think on the procedural there are changes which was expected and this expectation was raised by NRIs for many years. One, I think we already talked about that when NRIs are selling properties in India, the buyer has to obtain a TAN and do all the compliances, which is a very cumbersome process. So going forward, they've done away with that. They've come out with a TAN-based challan. So there's like residents dealing with it. Similarly, for NRIs selling the property, there's a TAN-based challan, one-time compliance. No need to obtain a TAN, do the compliances, and carry that TAN for future also. So they've done away with that. Second is, I think there was a requirement to file a revised tax return. As you know, 31st December is when you can file your revised tax return. But now they've increased that limit with nominal fees, which we have to see in the fine print. What's the fees they are asking for to 31st of March, which will again give a lot of relief to the NRIs because they have multiple jurisdictions, different tax years. There are taxes which are paid in different countries. To claim FTCs and all, it will bring some kind of relief to them so that they can capture those not on estimate basis, on actual basis. That's second. Even for residents who are sending their kids or studying outside or the common man, a lot of people are traveling. There's a big relief on the TCS, which gets deducted on the as you know. For overseas tour packages, the limit was 5% or 20%, depending upon the quantum of the tour you're booking. But now that has been reduced to 2%, which is a big relief. Again, on remittance you're doing for education or medical purpose, last year they've come down to 5%. Now they've come down to 2% without any threshold, which is again a big move. And on many other things which the government has focused. I just want to highlight from an individual perspective, not specifically for NRI, but other, like there are big moves on the capital markets. Buyback taxation has been done away, and then everything is brought under the ambit of capital gain, which will we need to look into it, how much impact will be, but looks like a big impact for the promoters. Second is on the future and option that the STD rates have been increased. I'm not able to recall the percentage, but there's an increase on that. Even on the crypto, there's a new penalty regime which will brought into it, and for undisclosed foreign income up to 20 lakhs. So they've come out with immunity, which is from a retrospective effect that it's not required to be. The people are not required if they're missed on. There will no penalties or something of that sort will be there.
Okay. Before I end, Divya, I just want to finally ask you. There is also this conversation on the extension of filing. How important this is? Does this make any impact? Does it help, or it's just a nominal help?
No, I think the extension of filing is a big boon, and it really helps, as Akhil rightly said. When you look at filing of your revised return, which was till 31st December, now it has gone up to 31st of March with the nominal fees. I think that's a big step which is in the right direction, because a lot of people were not able to revise their returns, whether it was in case of foreign tax credits, as Akhil rightly said, and also even on the updated returns, they have made some changes in that. So I think these are the important changes which will really benefit a taxpayer. So I would say really a step in the right direction and much needed. Yeah.
All right, so that's where we end this particular panel on taxation. As we decipher the budget speech further, we will have more of these conversations. Till then, thank you very much for joining.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Pleasure to be here.
Thank you.